Welcome to our in-depth analysis of what international security experts are now characterizing as one of the most severe military escalations the Middle East has witnessed in decades. We are currently observing a highly coordinated, multi-front offensive against Israel, driven by Iran and its regional aligned militias. The geopolitical reality on the ground has shifted drastically, pushing the entire region perilously close to the brink of a full-scale regional war. Over the past several days, a relentless combination of Iranian ballistic missiles and heavy rocket barrages fired by Hezbollah from Lebanon has directly targeted major Israeli population centers and fortified military positions. The immediate consequence is a daily reality of blaring air raid sirens echoing across Israel, particularly in central metropolitan hubs like Tel Aviv. Residents are forced to watch as missiles streak through the night sky, met desperately by Israeli air defense systems scrambling to intercept the incoming projectiles. To truly understand this chaotic present, we have to look back at the catalyst. This rapidly expanding conflict was directly triggered by a massive, coordinated military campaign launched by Israel and the United States against Iranian domestic targets on February 28, 2026. That preemptive operation was specifically designed to severely degrade Iran's ballistic missile infrastructure and operational military facilities. Coalition forces targeted multiple strategic sites deep inside Iranian territory, including subterranean missile bases, central command centers, and key security institutions. Israeli defense officials justified this unprecedented operation by stating that Iran's advancing ballistic missile program and its extensive network of regional proxy forces posed an absolute, existential threat to the security of the Israeli state. Predictably, Tehran responded with immediate and overwhelming force. Iranian officials publicly vowed severe retaliation, quickly launching massive waves of ballistic missiles directly toward Israeli sovereign territory. They declared these strikes as part of a calculated retaliatory campaign explicitly designed to hit both strategic military infrastructure and highly symbolic targets inside Israel. However, within a matter of days, the geographic boundaries of the conflict shattered. Hezbollah, the heavily armed, Iranian-backed militia based in southern Lebanon, officially joined the fighting. They opened a highly volatile northern front by launching dense waves of rockets and unmanned aerial drones directly into northern Israel, effectively creating a deadly two-front war along the Israeli-Lebanese border. The sheer scale of the Iranian missile barrages targeting Israeli cities is staggering. Security analysts report that these retaliatory strikes rank among the absolute largest direct attacks against Israel in modern military history. Current verified data indicates that Iran has fired more than 200 heavy missiles and over 120 attack drones toward Israel since the initial fighting began. This sheer volume of fire is a calculated military tactic designed to overwhelm sophisticated air defense grids, forcing Israeli civil authorities to impose strict emergency measures nationwide. The incoming projectiles have targeted several critical areas, specifically the densely populated Tel Aviv metropolitan area, the broader Jerusalem region, southern military installations, and vital strategic infrastructure sites across the country. Tragically, several of these heavy strikes reportedly bypassed defenses and hit densely populated urban centers, causing catastrophic structural damage and significant civilian casualties. Among the absolute hardest-hit locations was the Ramat Gan district, located just adjacent to Tel Aviv. There, a direct missile impact completely destroyed sections of multi-story residential buildings and triggered massive, uncontrollable fires. Emergency responders and urban search and rescue teams immediately rushed to the devastated scene, frantically searching through the concrete debris for potential survivors. For the everyday residents of Tel Aviv, these relentless attacks have forged an atmosphere of constant fear and crippling uncertainty. Frequent missile alerts force civilians to drop everything and sprint into fortified bomb shelters, as the concussive force of heavy explosions echoes across the city skyline. The glowing trails of interceptors, launched continuously by Israel's multi-layered air defense systems, starkly illuminate the night sky, creating a surreal and terrifying visual of modern aerial warfare. Eyewitnesses on the ground have vividly described the horrifying moments when heavy missiles approached the city center. One local resident recounted the experience to regional media, stating that the sirens started screaming, and seconds later, they heard massive, deafening explosions that violently shook the windows as thick black smoke began rising over the cityscape. Despite the fact that Israel possesses some of the most advanced, battle-tested air defense systems on the planet, including the Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow interceptor networks, no defensive shield is completely impenetrable. A fraction of the incoming missiles have successfully managed to penetrate this defensive umbrella. Verified ground reports indicate that several civilian residential areas took direct hits during these intense barrages. According to independent conflict monitoring groups, at least 10 people have been confirmed killed, with dozens more suffering severe injuries directly resulting from these Iranian strikes on Israeli urban centers. Simultaneously, the situation in the north is deteriorating rapidly as Hezbollah aggressively opens its front. While Iranian ballistic missiles targeted the central heartland of Israel, Hezbollah launched a highly synchronized parallel campaign originating from southern Lebanon. On March 2, 2026, Hezbollah forces fired multiple, heavy rocket barrages directly toward northern Israeli communities. These strikes triggered widespread panic and sirens in major port cities, such as Haifa, and numerous towns scattered across the Galilee region. These coordinated attacks mark a severe and dangerous escalation in the long-running, historical confrontation between Israel and Hezbollah. Israeli military officials have confirmed that Hezbollah has continuously launched unguided rockets, explosive drones, and precision-guided munitions at both fortified military bases and vulnerable civilian areas situated near the border. One of the primary targets reportedly included a highly sensitive Israeli missile defense site located near Haifa. Hezbollah leadership publicly claimed these strikes were direct retaliation for the earlier Israeli and U.S. coalition attacks against Iran and its regional allies. As we witness these simultaneous missile and rocket attacks unfold in real time, the entire Middle East resembles a powder keg where multiple fuses have been lit at once. The international community is watching closely, fully aware that this dual-front escalation threatens to drag even more global powers into a devastating and protracted conflict. Welcome to our continuing coverage of the escalating geopolitical crisis in the Middle East. What initially appeared to the world as a seamlessly coordinated multi-front attack against Israel has revealed a far more complex reality on the ground. When the sky is filled with projectiles simultaneously, it created a highly convincing illusion of a unified command structure. However, according to recent assessments from Israeli intelligence sources, there is currently no confirmed, hard evidence of direct operational coordination between Tehran and Hezbollah during those specific initial waves. Think of it less like a perfectly synchronized orchestra, and more like multiple actors seizing a chaotic moment of opportunity independently. Yet, even without formal joint coordination, the sheer volume of simultaneous strikes dramatically compounded the pressure on Israeli air defenses. Military analysts point out that the defense grid was forced into a severe multitasking scenario, simultaneously calculating interceptions for heavy, long-range ballistic missiles originating from Iran, identifying much shorter-range, unpredictable rockets fired from Lebanon, and tracking low-flying drone incursions approaching from multiple, unexpected vectors. This combined, multi-directional assault severely stretched the capacity of established interception systems, forcing military commanders to urgently deploy and activate additional air defense batteries across the entire country to prevent a critical failure of the defensive shield. The response to this overwhelming pressure has been swift and deeply aggressive. The Israeli Defense Forces, known as the IDF, immediately launched comprehensive, large-scale airstrikes. These operations were heavily focused on Hezbollah targets embedded in Lebanon, as well as high-value Iranian military assets distributed across the broader region. Inside Lebanon, Israeli fighter jets systematically struck known Hezbollah strongholds concentrated in the southern regions, and specifically targeted the dense southern suburbs of Beirut. According to official statements from Israeli military command, these kinetic operations systematically targeted critical infrastructure, including hidden rocket launchers, subterranean command centers, extensive weapon storage sites, and highly secured leadership compounds. The tactical objective also included neutralizing key personnel. Specifically, on March 8, the Israeli military officially confirmed a precision strike in the heart of Beirut. This operation explicitly targeted senior members of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, formerly referred to as the IRGC, who were directly linked to coordinating Hezbollah operations. The IDF publicly categorized these individuals as pivotal figures responsible for orchestrating Iranian military activity and logistical support against the Israeli state. But the scope of this retaliation extends far beyond the borders of Lebanon. We are observing a massive, sustained air campaign where Israeli and U.S. forces have reportedly conducted extensive, penetrating airstrikes deep inside Iranian territory itself. This represents a monumental shift in the regional security dynamic. The designated targets within Iran have critically included strategic missile launch sites, integrated air defense systems, central military headquarters, and specialized drone manufacturing facilities. Some preliminary military reports suggest that hundreds of Iranian missile launchers have been successfully destroyed, a tactical achievement that would significantly degrade Tehran's immediate operational ability to conduct further large-scale barrages. Nevertheless, despite taking these heavy infrastructural losses, Iran continues to launch sporadic missile strikes at Israeli territory, ensuring the cycle of retaliation remains unbroken. The human cost of this expanding geopolitical fracture is already catastrophic. According to verified casualty reports, more than 1,300 people have been killed in Iran as a direct result of the combined U.S. and Israeli strikes. Simultaneously, Israeli urban centers have also suffered painful civilian casualties from the relentless incoming missile and rocket attacks. Looking to the northern front in Lebanon, Israeli strikes targeting entrenched Hezbollah positions have killed dozens of individuals and forcibly displaced thousands of civilians from their homes. Entire, generational communities situated near the volatile Israeli-Lebanese border have been completely evacuated, leaving behind ghost towns as the heavy fighting severely intensifies. What we are witnessing is the rapid, uncontrolled expansion of a localized dispute into a much broader regional war. The chessboard is crowded and highly volatile. Several state and non-state actors are now deeply involved or directly affected by the crossfire. We are looking at a complex web involving Iran, Israel, Hezbollah and Lebanon, significant United States military forces stationed in the region, and heavily armed, Iranian-backed militias operating across Iraq and Syria. Geopolitical analysts issue stark warnings that additional, unpredictable fronts could easily emerge if other aligned members of Iran's regional network decide to fully join the active fighting. Some of these heavily armed, Iranian-aligned proxy groups have already issued public threats detailing potential attacks against U.S. logistical bases scattered across the Middle East. Naturally, these escalating international hostilities have deeply alarmed governments around the world. European leaders have issued severe diplomatic warnings, stating that the current trajectory of the war risks fundamentally destabilizing the entire Middle East, a scenario that holds the very real potential of drawing in additional, nuclear-armed global powers. Furthermore, some international officials have openly criticized the legal framework surrounding the initial preemptive strikes against Iran, urgently calling on all involved parties to immediately pursue diplomatic de-escalation before the situation reaches a point of absolute no return.